actually very excited about this topic. I think it is a huge opportunity in marketing. It reminds me back when, it's like demand gen was new and exciting. I have a good friend that tried to start a customer marketing agency a few years ago, and I feel like we still quite aren't there where people get it. So it's an area of opportunity that I think, if we can find ways to take advantage of it and innovate, there's some cool stuff. So, a little bit about me. I run app solutions and industry marketing at Active Campaign. So essentially product marketing, I'll say. I've been in B2B SaaS for about 10 years and have had some fun forays into other industries such as robotics, retail, enough to kind of know what's outside of B2B SaaS and a little bit of marketplace as well. I love finding new ways to bring products to market. That's really what I'm the most passionate about, is solving hard problems and looking at things that haven't been solved and figuring out how to solve it. So, just a little bit about me. I live in San Francisco. Pre-COVID, I used to do a lot of long distance cycling. I really like to mentor young women in tech, love to travel. Nowadays, here's some shots from the last year, hanging out around my house in San Francisco, and my new little Frenchie occupies most of my time. So that's a little bit about me. Where I'm at now. So as I mentioned, I have always been passionate about this idea of customer marketing. Customers are the most important thing to your business, but they always get the short end of the stick because we already have them. And we're always more excited about what we don't have than what we already have. We see that in relationships and also in business. So, I think it's natural that this has been a challenge. But have seen, a shift, everyone recognizing the customer experience, retention, all of these things are super important, but really haven't cracked the code. At my current company, Active Campaign, one of the things that drew me there, I've been there about a year and a half, was this idea of customer experience automation and actually thinking about connecting the front end of the funnel all the way through post-purchase support and grow, and having all of the touch points integrated and connected. So our solution, it's an automation first approach. We take a stackable approach to solving CX for businesses. So you might imagine a company plugs in, Shopify, Square, Eventbrite, and maybe their landing pages into Active Campaign and has all of them connected through all points of the life cycle. So it's been a pretty exciting ride. We've taken 2 rounds of funding since I joined. We just closed a $240 million Series C last week. So very exciting time to be there. And hopefully that means that, this concept of CXA is taking off. So kind of, getting to the premise, this is really what it is all about and why customer marketing really matters. And I think this is obvious in some ways, but I think the point that businesses haven't really truly grasped, I think people are still okay being in the middle. And I think that there's this idea that as long as you're not bad, you're fine. But when you think about where we are in the market today, like say you're going to go buy something off of Uber Eats or Grubhub or anything else, how do you buy it? You open it up, you sort. The 4.9 is the one you go for. Someone could be a 4.6, they could be a 4.5, but you're going to go for the 4.9. Why would you get an order of Thai food that's not as good as the best? So that's, this mentality that we as consumers have in our day-to-day lives. And that is transcending even into B2B marketing, where it's not enough to be okay anymore. You're going to be on one side or the other. You're going to be bad and they're going to talk about you. You're going to be great and they're going to talk about you, or you're going to be in the middle and they're going to forget about you. So, there's really no, you really have to kind of pick a side and decide as a business where you're going to be. And the good thing is, when you are capitalizing on the opportunity of marketing to customers, making sure they're happy, making sure they're excited, you actually get a lot of lift. I think we all know it's the organic referrals, the cheapest channel that you could be, putting, the more that you're bringing through that channel, the less you're spending on PPC. The more the virality that everyone's looking for, that can come a little bit more naturally. So, there's lots of benefits here. And because of that, it makes me wonder why the only place that in, a decade, we're still all just focused on case studies, right? It's like, there's so much more opportunity beyond that. And you can kind of see here, this was Influitive did a study, and, everyone's doing the case studies, everyone's doing the user groups. And then once you get below that newsletter, all of the rest of this opportunity just starts dropping off. And these are, I would say these are pretty standard customer marketing opportunities. We're not even talking about things that are really cool and innovative. So, there's a long way to go in this space. So, one of the challenges that I think I'd be curious to hear when we get to the discussion, if folks here have experienced, it's hard to get budget and approval for customer marketing because it still is sort of seen as an afterthought. I think I've definitely been in organizations where the feedback is, well, we have a CS team, just let them do it, right? And that's kind of the pushback. So, thinking about if you want to be able to prove out, like if I were coming to an organization, I believe very strongly that there is such tangible benefit hidden in your customer base. And if you can bring it out and use it as marketers, you're going to be leap years ahead. So the way I typically get to that is to try and prove it out with some of my existing resources so that then I can get approval and budget to go actually get like a dedicated team to focus on this. So the talk today will focus on how do you make the most of customer marketing with what you already have. So, the first thing that I feel like my background's product marketing. So the first time I the very first thing I do when I started a new job is implement win-loss analysis. And that's one of the best ways to immediately really start understanding who your customers are, find those opportunities, and also break down a lot of barriers. In an enterprise company, this can be a fairly time-intensive process. You're thinking about going through the end of the quarter, getting all of your new wins, getting all of your new losses, setting up interviews, capturing all the data in a standardized way. I usually use like a SurveyMonkey tool where I can have unstructured data bucketed in a structured way, so I can start looking at trends. You can also do surveys on top of it. But some quick and easy ways that really give you that customer voice immediately. If anyone here is familiar with Gong, that is a great tool. We're actually using that at ActiveCampaign, and I love it. Just being able to quickly it records all of the conversations anyone has with customers, and you can sort through massive amounts of data for really specific terminology, competitors, product information, and start pulling some findings from that. I also love looking at online review sites like G2. So that's another huge opportunity to start really understanding, and also looking at what customers are saying about you on social. So the more that you can kind of quickly aggregate and understand that, if you're trying to drive some projects through marketing, using your customers to break down those barriers is a huge untapped opportunity. And I'll give a couple examples that have been awesome in my career. One was I was at a company where I knew the messaging was wrong, and I was just convinced, but the founder was really in love with this one selling point. It was a very specific value prop. And we ended up finding out through surveys that 60% of the deals we had lost were turned off by that value prop. And it was such an eye-opening, because it was something on its face that didn't seem it would be off-putting, but it was a bullish statement being delivered to recruiters. And recruiters heard it and thought it sounded mean and horrible. The tech founder loved it and thought it was brilliant. And we were able to prove through customer data that, no, this is not right. And we were able to get approval to change it. The other thing to think about is in every single industry, customers look different. And I think a lot of us, if we've been in B2B SaaS, you can get in a habit of thinking everybody's the same. I know the profile of a sales guy. I know the profile of an enterprise, product lead. But you will be surprised that at every company, sometimes there's a lot of major differences. And one company I was at, actually, where I met Carrie and Carter, was in commercial real estate. And we were trying to break through an ROI story, and we just couldn't get there, and really spent some time talking to customers. And what we ended up finding out was that they didn't care about ROI in commercial real estate. All they care about is what Joe down the street bought. And once we found that out, we realized our strategy was to actually build these pods of commercial real estate connected groups that knew each other, and just use one case study and sell to the pod through that. And it broke all of the stagnation that we had. So, there's a lot of like real tangible power. And once you do this is a great way to start getting buy-in, to start doing these kinds of things more programmatically. You just need that one win. So the next thing that I think is another easy win, another place to start, is making it easy for customers to do the marketing for you. This may seem somewhat obvious, but I think a lot of us get in the trap of case studies need to be this overwrought thing. We need to recruit, we need to get really tight permissions, we need to go through branding. And the reality is, people love talking about themselves nowadays. Everybody has a cell phone, everyone loves to make content. It's much easier than ever before to send your customers like a cool little photography kit. This is something that we did where we sent everybody a little video set up with like a TikTok light and just set it up that, hey, if you want to submit your story, we'll send you this, $50 recording kit. And, people were so excited to get this gift and just go ahead and start making content on their own. So leveraging that user generated content really gets you to that value or that volume you're looking for, and also can help you expose unique use cases where you might not have put your one customer marketer on this use case, but if you're going to get it for free, why not? Why not capture it and learn from it? The other thing that I like to do outside of case studies, so if I'm in a particular industry, we've done this really effectively with Dreamforce in the past. When any conference where there's speaking opportunities, right? Or any conference where there's an opportunity to get some kind of discussion, maybe there's a demo, whatever it is, we almost always start thinking about how do we promote our company? And that's really the wrong place to do it. What you really want to do is, how do I make my customers celebrities? So like when the Dreamforce agenda comes out every year, or they starting to propose, what are those sessions? I'm not even worried about the ones that we've gotten for free, that we're speaking in, that we're gonna deliver our company story through that. What I'm worried about and what I'm thinking of is going through the rest of the agenda and thinking, which of my customers would be an awesome speaker for that session? Especially if you have customers that have solid brands, because then it's something where you're reaching out to something that's already happening. It's a talk that's not about you, has nothing to do with your company, and you're putting your customers out in the spotlight and giving them more opportunities to not only build their brand, but also mention that they're your customer. So it's a really good way to kind of start thinking about, how am I growing influencers? Like, it's not just about making them successful on your product, it's making them successful in their industry, and therefore, kind of the rising star. So that's a program that's been really successful in the past as well, that, you can do with all of your existing team. The third thing that I think is really kind of a new and emerging area that I would love to have a larger discussion about, when we get through this. The overlap between product, CSM, and marketing is starting to become, it's a huge opportunity. You think about, where are your customers engaging with you the most? It's in the product. And who from product is really driving those opportunities for, success engagement, or for marketing content? Like today in most companies, those are pretty fragmented areas. So thinking about, as well as in CS, CS, they're the ones that know the customer better than anyone else. But a lot of companies are not investing enablement dollars or even product marketing support into CS. So you have CS kind of flying blind, making their own materials in most cases, telling their own stories. They're gathering a wealth of customer information that no one's doing anything with. They may not even be, putting it into Salesforce or whatever tool you're using, right? It may be just kind of living in their heads. You have a product team who has access, especially if you have tools like Intercom or Pendo, to be able to see on a daily basis, what are people using? What are they clicking on? Where are they getting frustrated in the product? Where are those broken paths? That's all information. If marketing had all of that, imagine the communications you could create to help fill in the gaps in the customer experience. If you understood where CSMs are frequently getting brought in to cover for product, you could create standard content that then goes out to the customer and solve it in a more mass way and free up CS for these like non-standard challenges. So it's kind of it's a little bit of I think it's one of those like tougher nuts to crack. I'm particularly interested in it right now because my team at ActiveCampaign, we're doing a lot more in product messaging. And it's kind of a new area for B2B companies. Like I think most, B2C companies are focused on that growth marketing component, but B2B companies really stay far away from this. And in the last 3 months, I've been kind of living in this world, and we found so many opportunities where we can trigger expansion emails, and looking at like functionality that should be used that's not used, starting to understand who are our top performing customers who are really happy and how are they using the product, and how can we in marketing push customers and train CS so that they're pushing all of our customers in a more effective way. And we've had some cool results from just even tipping the iceberg there. The next area I want to cover is also sort of related to case studies. And this is kind of a mind flip for B2B as well, where I think we get very caught up in B2B about we can only tell stories that we have a case study for, and we'll find a customer and we'll write the case study and we'll put it out. But when you think about consumer marketing, like Steve Jobs, he's not my favorite guy, but like when he came out and did his keynote, he was talking about stuff no one had ever seen before. He's not sitting there feeling like he's beholden to only talk about iPhone use cases that existed in the world, right? He's talking about imagining the possibilities. So I think that we can run into this chicken and egg scenario where we don't feel like we can tell our dream use case until we have a customer. But I actually believe that there is value in putting out the ideal use case first and using that to attract customers and train customers to behave like the ideal use case. And so that's actually a strategy that we've been focused on lately that I'm pretty excited to see the results of. So finally, I think the whole point where all of this comes down to, and this is probably the biggest challenge to having customer marketing really get kicked off in an org, is it does require marketing to take a larger view. I think we keep moving further and further and further down the funnel. And, I remember, a few years ago, and it was, marketing has 60% of the IT budget or whatever it is. Like, this is all about marketing takeover, right? Like every single thing that your business does is marketing. Your product experience is marketing. Your support teams are marketing. Every interaction your customer has with you is an opportunity for them to form an opinion about you and to talk about their opinion about you. So I think that marketing has to be involved post-purchase, and that's where things like the CSA enablement, in product support, and then thinking about how are we actually tailoring content to make sense for customers based on what they're doing, actions they're taking, what they've purchased. These are all things that I think in 5 years everyone's going to be doing, but that people are not doing now. I think I'm maybe a little more dialed into it because this is some of the stuff that we solve with Active Campaign, and this is our company vision, and this is why I've been so excited to be there. But I think even if I wasn't at Active Campaign, this would be an area I would be passionate about, because I think the book hasn't been written on it yet, and there's still time for really innovative marketers to get some big gains. So that is it. That's all I wanted to talk through. Hopefully there's some kind of food for thought and some, ways to think a little bit, and it'd be a little bit bigger and more expansive in how we're thinking about customer marketing. And I guess I'll pass it back to our moderator if anyone had any questions.